Did you want to give it a moment? Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome. And I'm Reverend Connie Pace-Adair. And I want to ask you all before we begin, silence your phones, please. Everybody together. We are here this morning. Oh, and I wanted to thank Miss Darla for being our sign interpreter. We're here this morning to honor Rubena, Lavina, Bradley. I knew Ruby for a number of years, and I was really honored that Janice and Joni found me and asked me if I would come and do this, and I'm very, very happy to do that. I'm going to say my little piece ahead of time, and this will connect with some of the other things that are going to happen today. Inside your program is basically the order of service, and I am quite pleased to see that the Wichita Family Crisis Center will be the recipient of any gifts that any folks want to make. Ruby was a strong advocate for those folks who do some really important social justice work. And when I went to Interfaith Ministries back in 1998 and started attending meetings at the Peace and Social Justice Center, I found my community. And Ruby Bradley was part of that community. And so we honor her today for the work that she did all of her life, the principles that she adhered to. I learned from Joni and Janice that she was a single mom for quite a while, and she was very supportive of single moms. I have been a single mom also, and I honor that effort because it really is an effort. The blessings come back in amazing ways. But Ruby and I would see each other. I was associate pastor at the Unity Church of Wichita, and I would see her there, and we'd have warm greetings. And of course, I'd see her at the activities that the Peace and Social Justice Center was engaged in. So I've known her for more than 20 years, and it was a wonderful thing to see her work. We are going to have interspersed with remarks some lovely music, and I'll just look up at Liliana in the loft up there when it's time for her to play. So I'm going to tell you all, and you could be thinking about this later on, and it's not included there. It's going to happen after the Khalil Gibran piece, that you will be given a time when you can stand and share with the rest of us what it was that really meant to you. I've shared she was a single mom, she was a social justice advocate, and those two things are very important to me. And so I've said my piece early, but you can be thinking about what you'd like to say, because Ruby lives on. She lives in our hearts, in our minds and memories, in the work that we continue to do that she was engaged with. And that is part of her eternity. Okay, I think that we'll go ahead now and have the first music piece.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sad night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on your faces. People going by, I see friends shaking hands, shaking hands with you. There you say, I can be beside. I must let go. Where I must go. And I don't know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
Oh, yeah. We come to the eulogy now, and Celia, Ruby's granddaughter, is going to come forward and read that for us. Celia?
We are here today to celebrate the life of Rubena Ruby Bradley. Rubena was born the first of 7 children on February 17, 1930, in Emporia, Kansas, to Anton Poller and Esther Riffle Poller. Twins Merlin and Mervyn soon followed, along with Donald, Charles, Armida, and Marlene. Rubena was born during the Great Depression, and times were very difficult. Her mother described her as a strong-willed child. Times were difficult during the Depression, but they had faith in President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. As a child, Ruby really loved him. Anton ran a small newspaper stand in Emporia as job opportunities were few. But in 1942, he was offered a position as route manager for the Wichita Eagle newspaper, and the family excitedly prepared to move to Wichita. As was custom at the time, Anton went ahead to find a home and get settled before bringing the rest of the family. Rubena was 12 years old, and Marlene, the youngest of 7 children, was only 2 weeks old when the family moved to the house on North Emporia Street in Wichita. The house has been in the family for over 80 years. Though the 2-bedroom house was crowded, she always described her childhood as happy. Her parents were attentive, loving parents. Rubena was especially close to her daddy. Just 3 years later, in 1945, tragedy struck when their beloved father died suddenly while recovering from surgery. The family was brokenhearted and financially devastated by the loss. Esther was left with 7 children to raise on her own. The 3 oldest children, Rubena, Mervyn, and Merlin, dropped out of school to work and keep their family going financially. Navigating those rough years taught her independence and a strong work ethic, which proved valuable in the coming years. Rubena became a mother herself in 1947 with the birth of twins, Deanna and Leanna. 4 more girls followed: Judy, Janice, Joni, and Deborah. For several years, she was a very busy stay-at-home mom, learning the arts of homemaking. She was an excellent cook and seamstress, designing and sewing costumes for the children, and even making prom dresses and pep club uniforms for the older girls. She always had a love of art and was very talented and creative, especially in her later years when she had more free time. Many of her framed paintings hang in her daughters' homes. The challenges of life were many as she struggled to balance being a single mother and the necessity of earning a living. She began contemplating what career she could pursue that would provide an adequate income. Careers for women in the 1950s were limited, and with 6 children to raise, she needed to think outside of the box. Even though it was a male-dominated profession, she became interested in learning drafting and began to study basic drafting on her own. She ended up taking a class at Wichita area Votech School, and after gaining a little confidence, she took her drawings to Boeing, where she was hired immediately. This was quite an accomplishment for a woman in the 1950s. Her education did not stop with drafting school. She also obtained a licenses in cosmetology and real estate, but her working career was dedicated to technical drawing for aircraft. She mastered computer-aided design when it became available, which made her talents in great demand. Eventually, she became a contract worker for many different companies and lived in several cities like Fort Lauderdale, Tucson, Savannah, Denver, and New York. Upon retiring, Ruby settled down in Wichita. She honed her skills on the personal computer, perfecting Google searches regarding health and fitness to facilitate better health and understand some of her medical conditions. She joined Facebook and became active with numerous friends. Ruby was a regular contributor and was never afraid to give her opinion or speak her mind. Rubena supported peace and social justice and believed that war is not the answer. She stood up for herself and supported equal rights for women and people of color. She was concerned about the environment and especially the chemicals we eat, breathe, and live around. We have been inspired by Ruby's lifelong and pioneering struggles for women's equality, and we have learned through her independence and tenacity to be strong, creative, and self-sufficient women. Ruby strived to teach her daughters and grandchildren to persevere no matter what the challenge and to stand up for social justice for ourselves as well as for others. We will never stop saying thank you in Ruby's memory for all she did for us and for the lessons in strength and compassion she taught us.
Amazing story. Amazing. Thank you, Celia. Well, you'll see that we have 2 screens here in the forward part of the chapel, and we're going to have a special slideshow now, and we can all enjoy it together.
They say, Ruby, you're like a dream, not always what you seem. And though my heart may break when I away, let it be so. I only know, Ruby, it's you. They say, Ruby, you're like a song. You just don't know right from wrong. And in your eyes I see heartaches for me. Right from the start, stole my heart, Ruby, it's you. I hear your voice, and I must come to you. I have no choice, so what else can I do? They say, Ruby, you're like a flame into my life. You came, and though I should be well, still I just don't care. You thrill me so, I only know, Ruby. They say, Ruby, you're like a flame into my life. You came, and though I should be well, still I don't care. You thrill me so, I only know, Ruby, it's you. I've been on my mind to live in them all alone. It's useless to say, so I'll just live my life. It's all those happy hours that we once knew. Oh, it still makes me blue. They say that time heals a broken heart, but time has to still says we've been apart. I've made up my mind to live in memory of the lonesome time. It's useless to say, so I'll just live my life. Dreams of yesterday. Those are dreams. Still baby, they say the time. They say I said I made up my mind to live in memory of the lonesome time. Sing a song, Joe. I can't stop walking. It's useless to say, so I'll just live my life. I'll dream of
Wow. As the kids say, that was awesome. Ruby loved Hillel Gibran, as did I, and I believe she taught her children and others along the way to love his words, so evocative of life and the different qualities of life. And Khalil Gibran wrote of love. When love beckons to you, follow him, though his ways are hard and steep. And when his wings enfold you, yield to him. And I'm sure Ruby would have said to her. And as I said earlier, we have time now for any of you who would like to share, to rise and say something about what Ruby meant to you in your life. You don't have to have permission to rise. But please share something with us. You want to say something, Jimmy?
I was just looking to see if someone else.
Well, you're number one.
Well, I'll say something. My mom was a remarkable woman. And, she was a forward thinker and had her thought. And my hat goes off to her for raising 6 daughters by herself mostly. And we all turned out pretty good. So anyway, I just, want my mom to know how grateful I am for everything that she did for me.
And I know she hears you, Johnny.
Thank you.
Ruby's daughters, please stand. Five here.
And Deanna's probably watching Deanna in Denver.
Deanna's in Denver. Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing your mom with us. Come on now. I know there's someone who can say something more. Good.
So I'm for this, this charm that was given to me by mom. She's called it woman power. And there was a time when we sort of she was a young mother, and we were young adults and getting older, and we sort of grew up together in some ways. And I mean, not necessarily physically, but socially, politically, and what was going on, you know, around us, her struggles in the workplace, and et cetera. So anyway, we're in this in her honor, and but I kind of wanted to say something too about this beautiful watercolor in the program that Mom painted. I think Deanna posted it in in Facebook with the photo that she remembers Mom getting an iris from the neighbor, burying the canister, putting it in a vase, and starting to just paint it. And Deanna was just amazed watching. You know, as a child, she just, it really struck her and was something that affected her. I mean, a number of us, you know, down in the arts. But anyway, that influence as well was something she did with us. She did with grandchildren. She always had the paints and colored pencils.
Fun stuff. You kids love that, don't we? We're still children at heart, aren't we? You know, age is just a number. Now mine's unlisted. But Ruby was so amazing. Every time I saw her, she always dressed so beautifully and just had that wonderful smile on her face. Didn't she have a killer smile? She did. I was watching that through the slideshow. Did you want to say something? Please.
She's a pretty extraordinary person. She taught me about that. So going off of that, see that talent. She actually taught me art. I was drawn to acrylics, colors. To her, she thought she certainly had opinions.
Indeed.
She thought that I was rather drawn to these dark colors and couldn't understand why. It's like deep reds and blues, black, the background's all black. And I was just dabbling away, and something came out of it. Something sort of like a Japanese seascape scene, some sort of fish looking through a window. She taught me about the moon birds and all that stuff. So it was really valuable experience and enjoyable. But she still thought it was really dark. And I was thinking, we could reach it. So, I found a nice black three. Big, and she was there, it's pretty glass, and it's just a simple black three. And she says, you know what, looking at it free, that's pretty. So, that's going to be, that's always going to be one of the best things. Thank you for letting me be here and share that with you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Alan. We have those little treasures in our memories, don't we? And they should pop up sometimes. And they bless us in coming and going. Well, I have a lady back here, Miss Laura.
I will miss her. I would wake up and there would be a call on my phone, there would be a call. And I knew then that we would have a really fun, touching session about trauma. And we would talk about learning, and we would just, it would be always very satisfying. We would each get to vent our feelings. And she was very loyal to me as a friend of Janice and Joe. So, bonus that.
Indeed. I'm sure we all will miss those times we got to share with Ruby. Who else? Come on. I think you have something to say, Mr. Butterfly. He's got a great butterfly mask. Come on, give us something about Ruby.
She was an inspiration to me in the way that she prepared and entertained dinner meals. From my first plan to my first sangria. She was great. I miss her very much.
I just got a short little story. After having my daughter Celia, she was my first baby. I called mother up and I said, I don't know how to do this. Please come up. And she was on the first flight up to Kansas City to help me become a mom. So she taught me a lot.
Our children change us forever, and we contribute to that change as we go along. Thank you. That was a lovely, lovely little tidbit. Who else? Come on now.
My name is Judy. I'm Ruby's third daughter. One of the things I remember most about her is some of the things she would try to teach us, from an early age. And one of them was to look on the bright side of life. One of her favorite things was every cloud has a silver lining. And Ruby liked all kinds of people. She had all kinds of different friends, and she respected people from every part of the world. And she was proud that her father was an immigrant, and that her mother's family had Germanic heritage, and she accepted everything. And she was interested in other cultures and religions. So I think the main thing is that she wanted us to know that we aren't alone if we have God in our hearts. And I think that is a part of her legacy to me.
That's beautiful. And I say to that, amen. As we drive along the streets, we'll sometimes see these little signs that people put out in their yards. And the one I love the most is, you matter. And it strikes my heart every time I see that, because each of us does indeed matter. Anybody else? It's looking like we've come to a lovely ending for this. Thank you so much for sharing. I'll have that other little treasure in my memories of Ruby, what she meant to each one of you. Whether or not you stood and spoke, your presence here attests to the fact that Ruby meant something to you, something important. And Jesse is going to read a wonderful letter that Ruby prepared a while back. Do you need this one? Jesse is her.
Oh, did you want me
This is her great-granddaughter, Jesse.
I'm going to be reading a message to friends and family by Rubena Bradley. When I make my transition into the life beyond, please do not mourn my body. Of course, we are accustomed to, by sight, to recognize each other this way. However, we are beings of light and still exist after our earthly body is no longer of use. I like what Socrates said when his dear friends and followers surrounded him during his execution by slow-acting poison. They asked, when you die, what should we do with your body? Socrates answered, it matters not as long as you do not think of it as me. I was baptized at age 16. I believe Jesus Christ was sent by our Creator to teach us how to live and care for each other with compassion, love, peace, and harmony. Since the beginning of mankind, people have searched for God to worship and lean on, to give them strength and hope. Hence the many conceptions of a god or goddess and prophets in many different cultures. I believe planet Earth and the universe was created by a super intelligent force so powerful it is unimaginable. Even though evolution is evident and still ongoing, when one closely observes our world around us, the natural wonders and beauty of nature, our animals and creatures of the earth, it is difficult to believe that this all came about accidentally. Recently, I had a conscious daytime vision where I came upon a beautiful planet in another galaxy. I could see many 1 to 3 story buildings and homes. It was sparkling with every color of the rainbow spectrum. As I traveled close, I was overcome with an intense feeling of peace, love, and tranquility that was undescribable. I wanted to go there, but I was not allowed. The spaceship I traveled in veered away from this planet automatically. I believe the spirit of all good people travels to live in a beautiful world of love and peace, such as this, with loved ones gone before.
Thank you, Jesse. Love and peace with those who have gone before. And we're going to have another little musical interlude. Lavina.
When the sun is over, to the God's celestial show,
And quietly she did. Um, Wayne and Joni are gonna hold a reception in their home, which is the family home on North Emporia, 1316 North Emporia. You are all warmly invited to go and attend. So, is that right after here, John? Right after. So you can just go from here east to, now Emporia runs north and south.
Right, so come from 12th Street, either from Topeka or St. Francis.
Okay. Topeka or St. Francis down to 12th and then come back north on Emporia. It's all street parking, but you should be able to find a spot for your automobile. Okay. Well, that's what I have as far as announcements go, and I want to thank you all again for being here and making it quite memorable. And let's celebrate Ruby as we listen to this last piece and carry that in our hearts as we go. Liliana?
Someday I wish upon a star to wake up where the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you find me. Somewhere over the rainbow. Birds fly over the rainbow, white and white and bright. Birds fly over the rainbow, white and white. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't
Blessings upon you all.
Hi, Deanna. Yeah, it's still running.
Love you. We're here. Love you. So. So you think you come over to Rubena, or you can go back to your place and restaurant? I don't know, what time is that?
Hi, Dana.